All right, guys, welcome to episode number 62 of the Digital Barbell Podcast. Hope you all are having a great day wherever you are and wherever you're listening to this. We got a good episode for you today, but first, let's get to the sponsors. I say sponsors because we have a conglomerate. We're sponsored by a conglomerate today.
Okay.
We're sponsored by banks. How about that?
Fitting. It's fitting.
What a day, man. If anybody remembers from a few episodes ago, Blakely kind of explained that she's been putting off changing our banks around. Our bank's out of state. It's a huge hassle. We're relying on all these shenanigans to transfer money around, and it's just a big pain in the butt. And she'd been putting it off. But what did we do today?
We opened a bank account. I've spent dedicated 2 full days, actually like 2.5 days dedicated to banks so far. And it's not even done yet. The first was when we're up in Mississippi and I got a check. I signed the check, think I'm going to do a mobile deposit, and I couldn't do that. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? My bank's in Tennessee, but we just happen to be like 10 minutes from Tennessee up there. So turns out the closest bank that was the bank we used to bank at in Tennessee was in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. So here we go, get in the car, we drive to Muscle Shoals, and it was good. We hadn't been able to change our address and stuff. So we got some stuff done there. And then today we were finally we were talking to some friends of ours the other night, and they're like, have you ever heard of like banks like Chase Bank or,
national banks?
So we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger and
we just walk
open a bank account. I thought it would be easy, but this was the big thing. Turns out I originally had a bank account with Chase Bank before we were married 20 years ago. And I've gotten credit cards that say Blakely Fletcher and all these other things. But my quote, he kept using, your profile says Blakely Bonds. So we're going to need your marriage certificate or do you have an expired card with bonds on it? I'm like, no, we've been married 20 years. I have nothing.
Do you happen to have your birth certificate or your marriage certificate in your purse?
Anyway, it was a long day of dealing with all that. It was funny, but it's sort of done. Nothing like 3 hours and missing lunch in the bank during COVID times. It was we got there at 10:30 and we got home at 4. We did have to come back home to get more certificates and back, but that was a long day.
Yeah, it's not like we live kind of in a rural area. Yeah. It's not like the bank is right around the corner.
But we did get a fancy ass coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
That was exciting. There was a Starbucks and the pumpkin cold brews came out, and that was really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to enjoy that.
I was excited about that.
All right, so there's our sponsor for the week. Thanks, banks.
Co-sponsor, Starbucks.
All right, so we've got another episode of You Go, I Go.
Yeah.
You guys love these episodes, so we drummed up a little bit different style episode of it for you today. So let's get into it.
All right. Okay. I'm going to ask all the questions and we'll both just answer them. We'll go back and forth. Okay. Sounds good. All right. If you collected any one category of thing, what would it be? I'll go first on this one just because I came up with this question just because I don't per se collect things, but we were just moving all of my grandfather's things, and I just love old things. I love my grandmother's old Tupperwares and old Corningwares and anything that has, it's a vintage, but it's not just vintage, but it's vintage and owned by someone that I know.
Yeah, you know the history.
That I love these kind of things. Our house looks like a 70-year-old's house just because I have all these old things from all of my grandparents and from around. But anyway, I just love those things.
You have a thing for dishes or dishware. Kitchen related stuff, and you have a thing for textiles.
Yeah. I love textiles. I can be oh, I used to dry off with this towel. It could be the crummiest towel, and I'm I don't want to throw this towel away.
I got an attachment to this blanket. Mine would have to be, I would like to collect automobiles.
Oh gosh.
Cars.
Yeah. That's an expensive collection.
Unfortunately,
my collection is free.
Yeah. Yeah, you collect free stuff that doesn't take up much room.
Free stuff that other people have owned.
I've just always been into cars. I grew up with my dad being a car guy, and he taught me how to work on cars, and a lot of childhood memories around that. And there would always be cars that were that's the car I want. I want that. And I would save up and buy that car. I'm not talking about anything fancy here, but I wanted a Volkswagen Bug, and I got a Volkswagen Bug, and I got it more into cars because you're always fixing a Volkswagen Bug when you have it. And yeah, like I just still like to learn about cars, and if I had unlimited money to collect something, it would for sure be cars.
So if you ended up having an old car, say you got a Volkswagen, and this was going to be like a car you kind of fixed up and you drove around when you could, would you also have like 5 like parts cars parked somewhere in the yard?
Ideally, I don't have the time to like work on all these cars that
yeah.
I'm hypothetically collecting, so I would buy cars that like didn't need to be restored. So I wouldn't want the like parts cars.
I wouldn't want the parts cars.
Not that I want, like, if I could have any car I want or a collection of cars, I wouldn't want all completely restored cars. I like, ratty stuff also, but I wouldn't want to, I don't want to start a junkyard or have time to be wrenching on stuff, really.
I'd be down if you really like where it was like the old trucks. I really like old trucks.
Those are in my hypothetical collection for
good.
sure. Some like 50s and 60s trucks, and for sure some like 1980s Chevy, I think they call them C-body trucks. I definitely want some of those.
C-body.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just like the G-body of the Monte Carlos and the Grand Nationals. Shannon, if you're listening to this,
hint, hint, he wants to buy your car.
we have a client in Magnolia, Texas, who works out in her barn. She's got a pretty sweet barn gym, and her husband has a 87 Buick Grand National parked in the background, just sitting there collecting dust.
It's like from the very first time we saw her first video.
I'm like, whoa!
I was
what
like,
is that?
oh, I've noticed it as being a quote G-body, because when I first started dating him, that was what he was into, and I was like, oh look, they have one of those cars like you used to have, and you're like, well, this is the car.
I promise you, I will own that car someday. I will trade her free coaching for life. Unfortunately, her husband probably doesn't care if she gets free coaching for life. So there you go.
I want my car.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. What did you think was cool when you were young, but is not cool now?
Why don't you go first on this one too? Give me a minute to think.
This one was kind of hard for me to think of something, but this is still something I do to this day, and it probably is not cool. I like to draw on myself. I like to draw my arm. Like I like make my own like tattoos, and also I love like temporary tattoos. Like if I see a store that has like the temporary tattoos, I'm like, ooh, I want these. And it's probably not too cool as like an adult to be walking around with like pen drawing or fake tattoos on yourself.
Barbed wire.
I think the cheesier the better.
I think deep down you want to get a tattoo, and that's your way of
that's my way of like practicing
getting around the permanency of actually getting a tattoo.
Yeah, but they don't look as cool when they've like they're hand drawn.
Yeah, you've probably confused a few people that have seen you in videos like, when did she get that tattoo?
There was a time when we were in Boise that this place had like a really cool tattoo, and I would get it, and like when I got a couple of them, and so then when to wear it down, I would put it back on.
Yeah.
I was like kind of practicing for like, oh, if I got a tattoo, I'd put it here.
I think it's good practice. I still want to get a tattoo eventually too. I just don't have a good enough idea for something that I want on me for the rest of my life.
See, I have a great idea. It's just the placement. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have a good idea.
Okay, what's your cool thing?
Tucking in my shirt.
You tuck in your shirt?
I know. I remember when I was young, I thought it was so cool when I tucked in my shirt. I can remember. Oh. You remember how the first day of school you would always have like maybe you had a brand new wardrobe for the whole school year.
Well, no, just like
there was a lot of pressure to pick out the thing you were going to wear.
Back to school shopping.
And I remember Champion, the brand Champion. It was doing real good back when I was probably in I don't know, intermediate school or maybe even younger. The same brand that's back now. That just goes to show you. And I had my my shoes weren't Champion. I think they were like Elise. Remember that brand, Elise? And I had a brand new pair of Champion like sweat shorts and a Champion t-shirt with the little C logo on the chest. And man, I tucked that shirt in.
You wore sweat shorts your first day of school?
I looked awesome in that.
Yeah.
I was a little pudgy, so I don't. But yeah, I was wearing my sweet new Champion outfit with my shirt tucked in, and I just thought I was the coolest thing. And now, when was the last time you saw me with my shirt tucked in? When I was wearing my suit, maybe.
Like if you have to like go to a wedding.
Yeah. Even when I worked in, construction.
Yeah, you had those like polos with the company name on it. You would tuck them in.
Every once in a while I would tuck one in, but...
If you wore jeans, I think, because it looked weird untucked. Well, no, I guess. Depends on how long the polo was.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I thought tucking in my shirt I was the bee's knees with my tucked in shirt back then. And now,
I would say, tucked into sweatpants is questionable at best.
Fashion update.
We were watching something the other day, and they called them soft pants. They're like, oh no, they're
yeah.
about to put on their soft pants. That means they're staying. I was
Yeah.
like, that's a hilarious term to me.
Soft pants. Man, in Boise, we didn't get out of soft pants.
It was like soft pants year round. Okay. All right. If a client could only follow one rule about nutrition, like they just like this is the rule you're going to focus on for that's all you have to worry about. What rule, or quote rule or whatever, would you have them follow?
I would say, and this is definitely something I didn't know before I started coaching people on nutrition and have learned over the years, is understanding calories and energy balance and macro breakdown, and all that stuff is important, but it's the mindset stuff that really holds people back. Unless you're just a person who follows like maybe you're type A person that just follows everything to the T. You don't think about things, you just execute a plan, and nothing on the mental side derails you. But for us normal people, the mental side is huge. So I would say if I could get somebody to follow one piece of advice, it would be to never make 2 bad decisions in a row. It's basically, this just comes down to avoiding the all or nothing mentality, and thinking that, shoot, like I said I wasn't going to have a drink tonight and I did. I might as well have pizza. Well, you just rolled one bad decision into another.
Okay.
And if people could cut that off, then they followed, or even came close to following the other recommendations that I give them, it would all fall into place. But so many people get sidetracked in that all or nothing mentality. So I would say that.
Okay. I would say to, like, when you are in control of what you're eating, like when you're buying it and you're eating at home and all that stuff, to eat only real whole foods, to like have zero processed foods. If they could only do one thing, and that would, I think, would control everything else.
That would solve a lot of problems.
That would help with like overconsumption of calories, overconsumption of fat.
Yeah. That's great advice. It would probably, it would cut down on overconsumption of food, and people would automatically end up eating a lot less calories.
And they would probably be able to eat anything, as much as they wanted, because it's all real foods, and it's nothing like, oh shoot, I just ate this much stuff and it was 500 calories and I'm not even full yet.
Yeah. What if somebody was at home making their own ice cream and peanut butter?
Whatever. I mean, going through the process is like, I would go for it,
It's like our neighbor Benson next door, that brews beer. Like he's doing the processing. Can he drink unlimited amount of beer?
He can drink an unlimited amount. He's got to go through the process to make it. Because I think it all works itself out. You're only going to put in as much effort as you want making it. So
I think that's great advice. And like the thing about, basically you're forcing somebody to focus on food quality, which for a lot of people is overrated because they get bogged down in like, I'm eating an organic cookie, I'm all good. But if somebody takes your advice and like eats unprocessed stuff, they will automatically end up eating less calories probably, and they'll feel a whole lot better too. There was something else I was going to say about that you got me thinking about, but if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up.
You came up with this question. I think it's ridiculous. Not even worth stating, but we'll go ahead with it. Who would win a fight between Rocky Balboa in his prime and The Rock in his prime? I mean, no one beats Rocky Balboa.
So that's that your answer?
Yeah.
Do you want to justify that? Or?
I mean, have you seen Rockies 1 through 5 plus Creeds 1 through 3? 1 through 2 plus?
When was Rocky's prime, would you say, out of all the Rocky movies?
I mean, I think he's still in his prime.
He's like 75 years old.
Did you see the Rocky Balboa? He's still winning fights.
Yeah, I think he was in his 50s for that one. Probably
maybe
his
60s,
mid to late 50s.
And like his late 20s to like 60s, that was his prime.
Yeah. I would agree with you for a different reason. Because I think The Rock is awesome. Love The Rock.
I do love The Rock.
But I don't know how tough he really is. I mean, he's big and muscular and he wrestled professionally, but...
I think of him as an actor.
Yeah, and because wrestling is a scripted thing. Not that it doesn't hurt and that they're not really athletic and tough, but who knows what he can actually do in a fight. I don't think I've seen him do a bare knuckle fight. He is big.
He's big. He's much bigger. Sly's not big, but he's got the skills.
Yeah, I think a few jabs from Sly in his prime and The Rock's going down.
I think so too.
Sorry, Rock, if you're listening to this. It's nothing personal.
He's so low, he would like be hurting him in the midsection right here.
Have you heard from The Rock lately? We used to keep in pretty close contact with him. So if you listen to this, Dwayne, give us a shout out. We've been wondering how you're doing.
Okay. What old person thing do you already do? I already know yours.
Well, you have more than one to choose from.
Okay, go.
The one I was about to say is actually more your thing.
What?
Well, I want to hear what you say
No,
first.
you go first now. You've already started.
I'm going to say mine.
Say yours.
I'm not going to use that one because I think it's really your thing.
Okay, we'll say yours.
Mine is making noises when I'm sore.
Getting up out of the chair.
Yeah. Hi, Buttons. But with all that travel last week, we didn't have access to any weights. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do any weighted exercises. So, a week is not a big deal, but we came back and got back to it on Monday and used weights and squatted heavy yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then sitting in that darn chair at the bank so long, I had to stand up a couple of times, and there I was, making old man noises. And I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. It's always worse the second day. So I'm going to say old man noises.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is my old
What's your other
thing.
one?
No, I want to hear what yours is first.
Mine's nothing to do with that. Mine's is crochet.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's mean. That's kind of mean to say it's an old person thing.
Yeah, because I know a lot of
always
people.
crocheted. I always like crocheted baby blankets for friends and stuff to have. Babies like
It's like an old timey. Pastime. Habit. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Hobby. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so I would say the one your real one is you talk about the weather constantly. You're like a walking weather bug.
I like to keep up with the weather.
That's what old people do.
Because you don't keep up with the weather at all. So I've got to know, like, is it gonna rain in a few days? I need to mow, like things like that. It's necessary.
You know what we also have?
What?
Windows. You just look outside.
It's forecasting. Like, you can't just look out and say like, oh, it's sunny now.
I will say,
gonna be tonight?
I appreciate your attention to the weather a lot of times, honestly.
I usually end up helping us, like, oh, let's do this instead of this, and fixing our schedule.
Yeah.
Based on the weather.
And it was handy when we lived in Houston and we had hurricanes bearing down on
You're
us
like,
also.
oh, wait, there's a hurricane?
Yeah. I don't see it out the window. It must not be happening.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. The hurricane. What was the devastating?
Harvey.
You gave me a really hard time. Yeah, hurricanes always come on my birthday. So watch out, guys. My birthday's next week. Hurricane Harvey was bearing down, and we went out to dinner. And we took your dad out to dinner. Your dad was visiting. And I said, we need to go. Yeah.
You're mixing up your stories.
No, this is hurricane. Because your dad left a few days, and he like 2 days before Hurricane Harvey, he said, come with me. Don't stay here. Hang on. This is the right story. We took him to that,
I think you're right.
Yeah, I am right. That little restaurant that's like on the side of the Westheimer or whatever. Anyway, I said, let's go by Trader Joe's and get some groceries. There's this big storm. And you're like, no, give me a hard time. And I'm like getting three or four cartons of eggs, and you're calling me ridiculous. And I mean, everybody knows Hurricane Harvey. What happened?
A lot of bad things.
Things.
Stuck in our house for like 5 days.
We have been people living with us for like 5 months after. It was a bad hurricane. Tons of people got out their poor houses flooded.
That was just your street smarts. That wasn't you knowing the weather.
That wasn't me.
That was your street smarts.
Okay. Are more or less people smoking now versus 5 years ago? You came up with this one.
I think overall less people are smoking now than 5 years ago.
I mean, if you would have asked me this like a month ago, I would have definitely said yes. But I just have, I don't know if it's where we're living right now, but I all of a sudden am noticing a ton of people smoking again. I feel like it's making a comeback. Like every old thing, it comes back around. Like
Champion sweatpants and cigarettes.
It's often in the grocery store parking lot. I'm like walking through or whatever. If we're picking up groceries, waiting for the pickup, and like I roll my windows down, turn off the car, and like people are smoking all around me. I'm like, oh gosh, So
maybe they're trying to get rid of cravings before they go into the grocery store.
I don't know. I've just, even today, we were by the grocery store and we walked out, and this lady was waiting in her car smoking before she got out, and I opened my car door and it's like.
Can I tell a pet peeve about smoking?
Sure.
This happened twice on our trip.
Yeah.
We were trying to patronize some establishments, and the employees were on break standing against the door outside smoking cigarettes. I know, like, they were probably weren't even like clocked out. They weren't even on a break, but they have to stay close to the store.
They were the only employees, so they were waiting to see if someone was going to come in.
Yeah, give me a break. Like, some of us don't want to walk through that. Like,
so smoking by a door is your pet peeve?
Yeah, people smoking by a door that you have to walk through and smell.
I remember when I worked at Rice, there was like these little poles around doors there, and it's like you couldn't smoke within that pole, which I thought was smart because it was the same issue. People wanted to just be able to walk to work without going through the smoke.
Yeah, you just showered. Did they also have a sign that told the wind not to blow? Don't blow the smoke over here.
Okay.
So what was my answer? I think less people are smoking now than they were 5 years ago.
And I said I'm not sure.
Anecdotally, we don't really do anything or go anywhere, so I'm not really sure other than the grocery store.
I think it's making a comeback, unfortunately.
All right, we'll get our research team on that.
Okay. Do people living in rural areas have a harder time getting in shape?
I like the way you say rural.
How do you say it?
Rural.
Rural.
What did you say?
Rural.
Okay, what was the question again?
Do people in rural areas have a harder time getting in shape?
I'm going to say yeah, for sure. There's one of our clients was telling me about something called like the food desert, which is a part. I think that's the right word for it. Like a part of the country where they just are having a really hard time getting groceries in general. And I'm not saying that's what makes it harder for people to get in shape, but coming back to the trip that we just came off of, when you don't have a lot of selection of grocery stores, you're at the mercy of whatever they have.
Whatever's in that town.
And when you're in a small town in a rural area, you got a really limited option for restaurants.
You really do.
Also, you're not going to wander downtown and find like Jane's Healthy Eating Cafe. You're going to find like Hardee's, and you're going to find a Mexican restaurant, and
you're going to find
Dairy Queen.
like a meat and three kind of like those kind of restaurants.
Yeah, like where every food is beige, fried everything. So I think that the selection of groceries is going to be tough just because of the small number of grocery stores. Okay, we had a temporary break there from a dog freaking out on us. But they're going to have like 70-30 beef. They're going to have 99% chicken thighs instead of chicken breasts. The fresh vegetable section is going to be pitiful. So yes, I think that does affect.
Yeah, we just noticed this when we were in a very rural area that it was tougher at the grocery store to find some of the, and it's not like the brands we were used to. It like you said, like more of a variety of fresh vegetables, like some of the leaner type cuts of meat. Those were the things we were having a hard time finding. Yeah, which I was shocked by, because it seems like it should be opposite. If there's like farming areas around there, it seems like that should be some of like the freshest food. Like here, this is all like grass-fed beef coming into this grocery store locally, and here's all the vegetables from all the farms around here. It seems like it should be opposite, but unfortunately, I don't think it is.
And then for the same reason, there's only one grocery store in town. There's either one or zero gyms also. And most people still work out at gyms.
Yeah.
They should find an online coach. But I mean, I think the deck is stacked against people in rural areas to get and stay fit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So yeah. Okay, next one. What one thing are people worrying too much about when it comes to their nutrition? You go first.
Man, I guess I could kind of tie this into the other nutrition question. They're worrying about being perfect too much.
Okay.
They think that to get like a result, they got to go hardcore and be perfect for X amount of days to lose X amount of pounds. But then like when you look at the people who have lost a bunch of weight or gotten, really lean or muscular or achieved a certain level of fitness or physique, like they didn't do that in 30, 60, 90 days. They formed the habits and did the behaviors of people who looked like that. And they stuck with it long enough to get that result. When I say they stuck with it, that means they did the things most of the time, and they weren't fixated on being perfect. Yeah. It's just this mindset that we got to overcome, and that's one of our missions for sure. So yeah, I'm going to say, what was the exact wording of the question?
What is one thing people are worrying too much about when it comes to their nutrition?
Yeah, being perfect. Can I give it like a sub B?
Sure.
This is also something we talked about focusing too much on, I guess this is going to be like B and C, focusing too much on food quality and variety. Like people,
like I don't want to eat the same thing,
right.
Whatever.
They're really trying to achieve something with their health, but then they also say like, well, I don't want to eat the same thing, more than once or twice a week. I need variety. So they're putting too much emphasis on that. Will there be a time later in their journey once they've, reached their goal to start introducing more and more variety? Absolutely. But you got to make things simple on yourself when you're trying to accomplish something tough. Like
dial in the habits first and then add variety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, focusing too much on food quality. There's definitely a time and place for that. And like you said, a lot of people will end up reaching their goals sooner by focusing on food quality, but people will just like obsess over it.
Yeah.
Like I have to eat, the cleanest food. And if I can't, then there's no point in even trying.
It's funny. It kind of makes me think about like the way you would attack like someone learning, like train, like fitness, like when they're starting to train, if they're starting from like where they really don't have a foundation, I wouldn't be like, okay, today we're going to air squat, tomorrow we're going to goblet squat, then Tuesday we're going to back squat, then we're going to overhead squat,
all in the same week.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't just like we're going to just have a variety of squats. I would like dial in the foundations of the air squat, and then let's add some weight, and let's dial in you using some weight, and then let's add a barbell and dial in using some barbell, and it would, it could be years until you are in an overhead squat position. The same thing like we were talking about, like dial in those foundations.
That's a great analogy. Too much variety is keeping you from making progress.
Yeah.
Will there be a time when you're better and you have all the foundation stuff nailed and then you can bring in more variety?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. That's funny. Mine is very similar to my other nutrition one as well, where I would say like worrying about labels like organic, gluten-free, keto. But when it comes to, I think about it when it comes to like buying a boxed thing, like, oh, this is a organic brownie mix, but it's a brownie mix.
Yeah.
It just,
this is a gluten-free cake.
So like worrying about those labels more than what you're actually eating.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that a lot with clients. Like I had organic cookies for a snack today. I'm like, well, shoot me a picture of the food label. Like,
or same thing, like it was made with agave, not honey. Worrying about those like little bitty labels versus what's the nutrition behind it.
Yep, that's where the magic really is. I like that answer.
All right. If anyone in your life could take one piece of advice from you and do it forever, what advice would you give them? Wow. Let me go first on this one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My advice would be start today. Whatever it is, whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to achieve, just start today. Like when I think about it, like in the health and fitness world, don't wait until like you become unhealthy to start to dial in your health. Don't wait until like something happens to start to like work out or try to work out or try to dial in your nutrition. Just start today, whatever it is. If you're trying to save money, start today. If you're trying to learn how to speak another language, start today. If you're trying to learn, how to like get, dialing in your nutrition and working out as a part of your routine, start today.
Yeah. If you're trying to get your bank account stuff straightened out,
start today.
Go do it today. Yeah. You can't go wrong with that advice.
Yeah.
Something is always better than nothing. Nothing is the opposite of starting today. I would say mine is to surround yourself with the things that you want to become. Like make the inputs into your life the things that you want to be better at. Like it's been like an absolute game changer for me to read books about things that I want to improve on in my life. Like it's become a habit now in the morning, like when we sit down and do our quiet time or reading or whatever, to like put input into my brain in the morning that like is in the direction that I want to grow. Like listen to podcasts that like support a healthy lifestyle or things that I want to learn about. And like the more of those positive inputs you have going in, like the more subconsciously you're just going to make decisions that line up with the person that you're trying to become over time, like little by little. And it's a great way to start the day on a positive note and to learn a little bit over time. And so And that's the general idea. And then like go out and share what you learned with somebody else, because that just cements it in your mind too. Okay. But you got to be deliberate about the practice of doing that until it becomes a habit. Like if I miss out on it for a few days in a row, I start to feel kind of like bleh and kind of like really craving like putting knowledge that supports who I want to become
back
into my brains.
And it's just about starting today when you want to get back into it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Nice. Okay, we got 3 more.
All right, let's go.
We can make it. Would you rather sleep on clean sheets every night or wear a brand new pair of socks every day?
I'm going to go with the clean sheets every night. I do love a good brand new pair of socks. I'm not going to lie. Christmas time coming around. If anybody's buying me, looking for a gift idea.
Sock with like you said, like, I don't know why, but fresh socks, like right out of the package are wonderful.
That's the only.
They feel different.
It's the only clothes you're legally allowed to wear without washing it is socks. Anything else new, you got to wash.
And underwear, right?
And bathing suits. Yeah, but I mean, like, is there anything better than crawling into a bed on a fresh wash?
Not out of the package, but out of the washer dryer. Yeah, I agree. I would say clean sheets. That's always been like, if I could have any luxury, it'd be like, and the bed like all made up, like in a hotel.
Somebody else made the bed.
Somebody else made the bed. He gets so angry yesterday. In fact, I washed all the sheets, and he gets in there. He's like, "What are we doing?" It's like 10:15. The sheets are not even on the bed.
Well, now we're doing chores.
We stayed up to watch Hard Knocks because it didn't come on till 9.
Yeah. And then we had to make the bed before we got
in it. All right, clean sheets.
Yeah, we both agree on that one.
Okay. All right, I like this one. Who is the most impressive CrossFit Games athlete ever? I'll cover my answer.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're going to say.
No, you don't.
Good old JH. Why are you blushing? Most impressive of all time. I think you got to go with Rich Froning. He's just the GOAT.
Yeah.
I know Matt Fraser won more titles in a row, and Tia continues to do that. But 10 years in a row on the podium, and he's like 35 now.
Yeah, I think so.
And he balances all the responsibilities he has with owning a gym and basically owning a second gym at home,
having
and
the
kids.
Yeah.
Well, the meat company.
Meat company. I think so too, because he can still perform at the elite level that he's always been at, while doing all these other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
was my answer as well.
The obvious question is, in a head-to-head, let's call it like a 3 workout competition, so that it's not just one that plays to one of their favorites. Who would win in a 3 workout balance competition between Matt and Rich?
I don't know.
Like if it was now.
I'd love to see it.
Matt's been dieting down, so he's probably pretty weak right
He's
now.
Been bodybuilding.
He's down like 20 pounds.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see it though.
I'm gonna say, I think Matt would win now, just for the age factor probably, but Rich would win on heart.
That makes no sense.
And better tattoos. I don't like Matt's tattoos. Like it's too much. I can't tell what's what anymore. You're like, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's move on. We're going off subject
Plus,
here.
it's getting hot in here.
What habit have you dropped or picked up that has had the biggest impact on your life? This is a tough one.
Do you already know what you're going to say?
I do. But now that I read it again, I don't really know that this has had this last piece, like the biggest impact on your life. I just know this is like something that, like something I do now that I never did before. And I don't know. I don't like it.
What is it?
It's, so I got this, I think we were like listening to like a Ben Bergeron podcast or something, and he was talking about nutrition, and he was talking about getting into the habit of like making your plate and not going back for seconds. And I thought he was crazy when I heard it. Like, I was like, I love seconds. Like, I loved going and making my dinner plate and then going back for a little bit more afterwards. It was literally just a habit. I don't even think I was still hungry. It was just a habit I would get into, because we would make, I don't know, whatever we used to eat. We would make, say we made like some spaghetti or whatever it was. And I would do like what I just said. And somehow I started trying that, and it really works. And his advice was just like, fill your plate with as much as you want. Like, there's no limit on this plate. Whatever the plate can hold, put on that plate. But that's your plate. Take it to the table, and that's your meal. And I started doing that, and it works. And it was more a habit of mine to go back. And, you know, I make the plate with what exactly I want on it.
Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Yeah. So that's what I thought of. I don't know that it has like the biggest impact on my life, but it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was more, yeah.
I've used that strategy with clients too, and it works. Because like you said,
somehow, yeah.
if you can slowly break the habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes we just often go back out of habit.
Yeah.
Or we have a snack after dinner out of habit versus like being actually hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know I've seen you go back at Thanksgiving.
Oh, those are different times.
Well, I guess the most true answer is what I already said before about having a morning routine and putting that positivity into my brain. But if I had to think of another one, it would probably be, I mean, it doesn't matter how long ago the habit started. Just regular exercise, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like a huge part of my life, you know, up until I was 30 years old, really didn't exercise.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Like we talked about before, like we would go to 24-hour fitness, and I would go to those classes or whatever. And you would walk on the treadmill. That was like what you thought was exercise at the time.
Yeah. And it really wasn't until 2009, the end of 2009, when we started CrossFit that it started to become a habit.
Yeah. Something you did regularly.
Yeah.
On a schedule.
And then there was a period of time even after then where it became not a habit to work out, and then picked it back up. But like looking at like how much regular exercise has like contributed obviously to like my health and stuff, but overcoming a lot of things on the mental side too. Like I'm pretty sure I would still struggle more with anxiety if I didn't know how to handle the stress of a hard workout or prove to myself through hard workouts and, you know, pushing myself in the gym that I'm stronger mentally than I thought I was back when I, you know, was struggling more with anxiety and stuff. So that's a pretty big benefit to something that you think is just for your body,
right?
To help you overcome the mental things too. So I'm going to say that's my answer. It's just picking up regular exercise and sticking with it.
Doing burpees.
Do burpees because they're hard. When are we going to get that on a shirt? Speaking of shirts, I'm excited that all of our clients had the chance to order shirts, and we're working on that order right now too. Yep. Stand by for when those are going to be in your hands, guys.
Yeah.
We'll definitely shoot you a message, and True Coach or Christina will shoot you an email. Anything else for this episode?
I think that's it.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode of You Go, I Go. You can always hit the linked in the show notes to submit topics or questions for us for upcoming question and answer or You Go, I Go episodes. Also, be sure and subscribe to the podcast if you don't usually, because we've got some really good interviews coming up in the next 4 to 6 weeks with some pretty exciting guests that we want you to definitely check out. So do that while you're in there and leave us a review if you have time. We appreciate all those. All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.